The Last of Us. Yeah, The Last of Us. At first, I was kind of in the middle. It's like
Mhm,
I was thinking maybe it's gonna be if it's gonna be if it's gonna have woke elements, it's gonna be a little teeny bit.
mhm.
But now that more news are starting to emerge, it's like yeah, it's not looking good. I think they're gonna go down the woke path again this time again. So that's another series that's gonna be um and I'm gonna be ruined by a TV series. That's how
Mhm.
I'm starting to feel. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. But yeah, like the recent news that there's not gonna be any spores, which is kind of strange because that's actually one of the most contagious ways to get the disease,
Mhm.
especially with COVID transpiring up. It's through airborne, so it's like it's gonna be less convincing in my opinion if they're gonna replace it with I forgot the term they used. It's like it's gonna be some interconnected, tangible thing rather than spores. And also, I also watched a video last night with Ryan Kinnell that Bella Ramsey she was told not to play the game. She was told not
Yeah.
to play the yeah. It's kind of it's really I don't know. They're really I think they're really going out of their way to differentiate it from the game, which is
Uh-huh.
what I feel is for the worse. And what else? Yeah, it's mostly Witcher, Blood or yeah. There's just so many things that happened these past few months. I'm gonna need to backtrack some of the YouTube channels just to remember. But yeah,
Yeah.
those are the memorable ones.
Yeah, like okay, so here's the thing. It's like you literally have what's it called again? Uh you literally have like an amazing source material that you can rely on. Like something that's so like fundamentally like great about the game that you can potentially use or you can actually use as your source of material to work on and you don't you like you know what we shouldn't do it, right? So yeah, that I believe that's just like, why not? Why is it like, oh, we want you to like I understand if the directors are like we want you to play your own version of Ellie. We want you to when you read script, when you read the screenplay or whatever, like how do you envision this character to be versus like don't rely on how it is portrayed. I guess when it comes to like a creative standpoint, I get it. Like it's sort of like when you're making a video game or a movie that's like a reboot, and you're like, oh, you're gonna be playing as I don't know Buzz Lightyear, right? And it's like, oh, we don't want you to play the Tim Allen version of the character. We want you to play your own version of the character. So this is because this is a completely different like universe or a reboot or whatever. So in my opinion, I think it's fair. But on the other hand, especially if you have like how the game elements are and how specific things should be or how they should look, it's it's a it's such a wasted opportunity for you not to have that source material for that you can work on. I don't know. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, it's like it's okay to deviate, but not to a certain degree that it's fundamental, I believe. Well, yeah, but
Mhm.
saying something that's fundamental, I think just saying that word alone is like fundamental means something different to another person. So it's kind of hard to articulate. But yeah, it's like if you're gonna get a source material anyway, then you might as well stick to it mostly because that's what made
Mhm.
it work. That's what people love. So what's the point in getting an IP if you're just gonna deviate so on so many things? You might as well just make what do you call this? You might as well just make your own if you really want to shake things up rather
Yeah.
than changing drastically an existing IP that it already proven itself by having a track record of whether it's sales or having a really strong cult following.
Yeah. So we have this article here from Bounding in the Comments. This was back in October of last year. So
Mhm.
this is a while ago, and this is probably before I even went on leave. But yeah, the Last of Us HBO star Bella Ramsey reveals that she was encouraged not to play the video game before filming. Uh, HBO has finally unveiled its first trailer, the small screen debut of the Last of Us series, and while the studio undoubtedly hoped it would get fans hyped for what's to come. A subsequent revelation from lead actress Bella Ramsey may have severely blunted the surrounding excitement. Of course, this video is private. I don't know why, but whatever. Starting life as a survivor horror series, the PlayStation family of consoles, The Last of Us, centers around an apocalypse brought upon humanity by a fungi-based virus, the cordyceps, a brain infection, which turns the infected into terrifying zombie-like creatures. Yeah, it's sort of like you're telling, basically, what's it called again? Henry Cavill, do not play the Witcher video games, is because we want
Exactly.
you to have your own version of the Witcher the Witcher TV show. And it's like, no, we want, whenever as fans, right, as consumers, we want the adaptation to be as close to the source material as possible, if not exactly the same, right? However, there are of sort of like instances where we do not want that. Sort of an example would be like the Lion King, like the quote unquote CGI live action adaptation of Lion King from the animated one. And that one was pretty almost one-to-one, but they made it too realistic where it's just like, what's the difference, right? So as a creator, you can have your sort of whenever you have your creative juices flowing, you want to take the liberty to make it a little bit different, but still it feels like whatever you remember playing or watching from back in the day. And man, it's I believe she did tweet it out. I think I saw a tweet earlier today, and let me. I'm not sure if I can find it, but she basically said, "Yes, I was encouraged not to play the video game, but it didn't mean that I couldn't watch someone play it," which is what she
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, she mentioned in that, I think it was some sort of documentary of sorts. Like I sneaked up to watch gameplay
Yeah,
videos, something
yeah,
like that. Yeah,
that's good for her, right? It's like I know, like I have nothing against Bella Ramsey. Like she doesn't look like Ellie, but this is like a different version of her. Like this is a TV show version, and I loved her as Lyanna Mormont in Game of Thrones. So when I found out that she was gonna be playing Ellie, I was excited. And then when we
hmm
had the Red Viper playing her father, her quote unquote father, I'm like, that's amazing. Like you have the two people I actually really love from Game of Thrones playing these two characters that I love from The Last of Us Part One, and it like for me, I hope it's good. There are, of course, they took the liberty to change some of the race and characters and stuff like that. I don't really care, as long as it's good. But back to your sort of a statement in terms of like they're not going to have the spores in it. Do you know why?
it's
Did you
it
did,
wasn't
did,
exactly clear. Wait, let me check on the. It wasn't exactly clear, but yeah, it's like it didn't convince me though. As far as I remember, it didn't convince me
was it
that.
this article that you sent me?
Yeah, it was the article that I
Okay,
sent you.
yeah. Let me actually bring that up. There it is. So this one right here. Wow. It's So yeah, like, for me, before I start reading this, like the spore, I always thought that the spore was actually like a huge thing, right? It's like the reason why you get
Yes.
you get the gas mask to make sure that you're not infected and stuff.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's such a big part of the game where like, okay, this area is spores, and that's what made Ellie very like, other than the fact that she can't get infected via getting bit, she's okay without the spores will not affect her. That's one of the major things that led to people trying to capture her and use her as a test subject so they can actually an antidote or whatever. But it sucks that they're not doing that. I don't know. But let's go ahead. Let me read this article. Why The Last of Us TV show made one major change from the game exclusive. The Last of Us is aiming to be an extremely faithful adaptation to its video game source material. After all, it is adapting one of the most critically acclaimed and beloved video game stories. Still, in bringing the PlayStation games world to HBO, there are a few tweaks made to the world and story of The Last of Us for various reasons. One thing gamers will recognize as not being a part of the series is spores. In the games, spores linger like a float in dark, enclosed spaces, waiting for humans to stumble into them and become infected with the fungal virus, which has wiped away humanity as we know. It was known. Those spores won't be a part of The Last of Us on television. A decision executive producer, Craig Mazin, who previously delivered HBO's Chernobyl, explained in an interview. Mazin said that in cracking the story and world building for the adaptation of The Last of Us, he and The Last of Us creator Neil Druckmann found themselves asking a lot of questions. That's the name of the game. What do you keep and what do you duplicate? What requires enormous fidelity? What do you need to touch on and allude to? What do you want to change and what do you want completely different? Neil Druckmann and I just talk through all of it, and as a fan, I was able to say at times, "Hey, no, we're not changing that, and that has to be the same." So it's yeah. I definitely need to continue reading this. Let's see. A core part of the story and many of the finer details make up the jump in the live action versions of the story, with Pedro Pascal taking the role as Joel and Bella Ramsey becoming Ellie. Obviously, there are some big things that we would like to that we know we're keeping, and then of course, but there are challenges from the game to the show that had to be considered. For instance, little things like spores in the game. There are these where you encounter spores, and you need to put on a gas mask on. In the world that we are creating, if we put spores in the air, it would be pretty clear that it would spread around everywhere, and everybody will have to wear a gas mask at all times, and probably everybody would be completely infected by that point. So we challenged ourselves to come up with an interesting new way for fungus to spread, but mostly I think we just connected with the soul and spirit of the game. He and the creator of the game and me as a fan of the game were caretakers on behalf of all the fans, but also on the behalf of the people who haven't played the game, who need a television experience that is holistic and connected to itself and doesn't feel like you need to play the game to understand. I guess that's fine. Like it is the creative liberty to change it, but you could have made it where it's like, oh, this area, the spores only linger in, I don't know, like places that has like a specific like material or something. I don't know.
And
What do you think?
if you remember the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced with that saying that it's literally everywhere. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you remember the game, it's like they're in mostly tight and compacted areas where they say, "Oh, there's spores. Time to put on the gas mask." It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally not everywhere. Because after you pass through that tight space where the spores are, they literally take off the mask. So I think they could explain it convincingly in a TV series that spores are in tight areas or not in highly concentrated areas at least. It doesn't have to be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, it can if you remove the spores, although it may seem small, right, in general, but if you think about it, it's probably a major reason how the infection spread so quickly. It's because people at first inhaled the spores and then they became infected and started biting others. So the spores played a huge role in making it like a pandemic of sorts, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
COVID. It's like
Yeah.
if there's anything, it's COVID. That's evidence that spores are, I mean, droplets are a major way of spreading a disease.
The
So
droplets.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully, I mean, I don't want to be cynical about it anymore. It's like
Mm-hmm.
even though it's likely gonna be, but yeah, if they can pull it off very well, then good on them. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards being more cynical again from someone
Yeah.
who's being kind of neutral or maybe a bit optimistic before.
So I haven't read too much on it. I believe it's coming out soon. Yeah,
Yeah,
January 15th. Wow, that's in a week.
mhm.
Damn, this is actually a lot close. I thought it was going to be coming out like during the what's it called
Yeah, I
again?
thought it was yeah, I thought it was around March,
Spring.
but I
Yeah,
it
that
must
was
have been
spring.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Let's go ahead and finish this article. Looks like we're about we're about done. Those spores are a big part of why the world ended in the Last of Us games. Humans would inhale them, which lead them to becoming ravenous, thoughtless, bloodthirsty monsters, which only spread the virus to other humans with each violent encounter. And with the virus in the TV show being so similar of that in the games, Mazin wanted to dig a little deeper when it comes to explaining how and why the world fell apart as a result. In games, because you're playing as Joel, there's really no reason for anybody to say, hey, let's talk about the thing that we already know. But once we got into this, especially when Joel and Ellie are together and alone, her natural curiosity seemed like a great kind of way to explore filling some of those questions people might have watching the show. I know I'm a very curious person. I want to know how things work. I want to know how why they went wrong. And once Joe starts to explain and fill in some of those gaps, some of the things that happen will, in the very first episode, suddenly take on a slightly different meaning and a little bit more more resonance. So I think it's just a product of my natural curiosity. I think people would want to know. You don't want people, you don't want to bore people with a lot of exposition. But again, I made a show where one, what is that one? Yeah, one guy stood up and explained how nuclear reactor worked. I thought, hey, I could do this again with fungus. I can do it. So here's the thing. Did you watch Chernobyl?
Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah, I heard it's
But
like really, really good. But like I haven't watched it. But knowing that like everyone's saying that show is like fantastic, and how everyone's all like afraid of like nuclear stuff, like it it begs the question, like how is he going to change what's going to happen here? And I guess he's going to make Ellie more like the audience, right? Like Ellie's young, naive, she is immune to everything, but she will be asking like what happened to the world, because like maybe she was like kept, locked away with like god, what's that band of group? I don't remember anymore. Like
the Fireflies.
Yeah, the Fireflies. Yeah, right. So like she doesn't like as a kid, you're asking a crap ton of questions. It's like why, how does this happen, what happened here, and I guess what Maison's gonna do is sort of make her act like more like the audience, so the audience can relate to her and stuff like that. But I don't know, that's how I feel. Thanks for checking out this segment of the Project Eggroll podcast. If you like what we do here, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you will know next time when we go live. We do go live every Saturday at 8 p.m. Once again, we are just getting started. Tons of more video to come. Thanks, and we'll see you guys next time.